Airbnb is collapsing, and that's a good thing.
Short-term rentals are a $100 billion market that have reshaped global tourism, accelerated a nationwide housing crisis, and created fortunes for early adopters. But now, customers, the government, the public, and the hosts themselves are turning their back on a concept that started out as a fun alternative to stuffy hotel chains, but became everything wrong with modern real estate.
Now, I don't think hosts are honestly turning their backs to this, because the hosts love it. How many of you have heard a similar situation that I'm about to tell you? Oh, someone wanted to just have a 2-day getaway, not worry about anything, just go to a place, stay there, and just relax. And then they find an Airbnb, and it's, well, it's overpriced, but okay, you really want this getaway, right? So you book it anyway. Then you go there, and turns out there's a list of like 500 different rules. Essentially, every time you take a step in that place, you pretty much need to wash the whole room over and over and over again. You know, you open the tap to get a drink of water, congratulations, now you have to wash the bed sheets for some reason. It's just not what people want. This whole thing started and was lucrative and productive because there's a lot of people, especially women, by the way, who just want to get away from the everyday monotony and just, you know, relax for a day or two. But now you can't. Because previously this was a normal concept, you know? You go to a place you rented out, yeah, you can't smash it, you can't burn it or anything like that, but at least you don't have to clean it spotless and, you know, clean the sheets after yourself. Someone else is going to do it. But now you have to, okay? And if you don't do it, there's going to be some kind of cleaning service fee or something. And guess what? You still need to actually do it. You still need to clean even though you have a cleaning service fee. It's absolute insanity. People hate it. Because it's no longer what they... why it was great in the first place. Now it's just sad. There's no benefit to it.
All right, the party's over for Airbnb renters. The company said yesterday that its temporary ban on parties and other large, noisy events is now permanent.
I've put all my savings into my unit. I'm following all the rules, paying all the taxes, buying the business license.
Ultimately, our goal is to get more housing.
Business license? Why do you need a business license? Just don't do it in Airbnb. The thing is also about the stupidity of Airbnb is the fact that just create a website where you can, you know, rent it out plus Airbnb, you know, something like that. So you just not so you are not fully relying on Airbnb. It's that simple.
Housing back into the housing market for people to be able to rent.
I just uncovered a massive amount of debt that Airbnb hasn't paid on the books that they're hiding. Tens of millions, hundreds of millions, possibly even $1 billion plus of debt that they have not paid.
So we are looking around and are saying,
how can you uncover debt that they have not paid, but you're not sure how much that is? On the books, by the way. That sounds like a lie.
We do right away that makes more homes available.
The short-term rental market took off when Brian Chesky and Joe Gebbia tried to rent out a spare room with an air mattress to attendees of a conference because they realized all of the hotel rooms had been booked out. They called their service Air Bed and Breakfast, which was later shortened to the short stay app that you know and love or hate today. Airbnb is now worth more than hotel chains like Hilton and Wyndham combined. The company is by far the largest short-term rental company, and it has achieved excellent penetration into markets around the world where other similar peer-to-peer or network market apps like Uber, DoorDash, Lyft, and even Amazon have failed to take share away from local competition. It was a good idea. Customers loved it for giving them a cheaper alternative to outdated hotels, and hosts like
the thing that you need to understand here actually is the fact that a lot of places did not have local competition to this. For example, Uber's competition is local taxi services and already established laws. Airbnb comes into a country and there's no such thing as an app for, you know, renting a place for 1 or 2 days. It's pretty much just, you know, websites and Googling. And that's kind of it. There's no unified place, okay? So that's their success. They didn't actually have typical competition, you know? There was no law that prohibits them from actually being successful, for unlike, you know, for example, the taxi industry or whatever in some countries.
Opportunity to earn extra income on a spare bedroom or even an entire separate property. But the four parties that make the short-term rental market work, the customers, the hosts, the public, and the platforms, are all now dealing with four unique problems that are threatening to undo this market and take out a lot of other real estate investments with it. The first problem lies with the people who it's hardest to feel sorry for, the hosts. Airbnb and other short-term rental platforms provided a unique opportunity for people to profit off real estate in a totally new way. Having a roommate existed long before Airbnb.
A super, super easy way. That's like the biggest thing here. A super, super easy way to get extra money.
But the platform let homeowners offer their spare rooms to travelers who could pay up to triple what a long-term roommate would pay, since budget was the reason that they were looking for a roommate instead of a place of their own. The extra income was nice, but the added flexibility of a short-term roommate was the biggest appeal to most people. If you had an extra bedroom to rent out in your apartment, you could find a long-term roommate. But then you run the risk that they are the type of person who is messy, loud, doesn't pay the rent on time, or is just a clash with your own personality.
Yep.
With a short-term tenant, any problems are only going to last as long as their short stay. Other advantages are that payments are handled through the Airbnb platform. There was a rating system that controlled bad behavior, and if you ever wanted the house to yourself because family was coming over or just wanted a quiet week to yourself, it was as easy as blocking out those dates on the app. That was the early value proposition of Airbnb. But
See? It's always ease of access. It's always ease of access. Well, it begins as ease of access. Fun fact, this is how fast food chains like McDonald's and things like that took off. At the start, it was just ease of access and it was relatively cheap, right? But nowadays, this is also something that Airbnb and a lot of other things are going to face at some point in business. It's going to be the fact that, well, ease of access and cheapness is no longer the driving factor. Because currently, for example, McDonald's is losing ground to a lot of different businesses, even though it was previously the juggernaut. And you know why? Well, because there's businesses that can offer similar prices, maybe slightly higher, maybe slightly lower, depends on the situation, but their food is better quality. Okay? We currently, this is really visible in the fast food industry currently. All the places that are currently the most popular are not the ones with the lowest prices, they're the ones with the better quality food. Every single place that has bad quality food is just unpopular nowadays. Because nowadays, it's more about quality than ease of accessibility. Because ease of access is everywhere. But quality is not everywhere.
sharing a spare room and staying with a random person while on vacation only appealed to a certain type of alternative traveler. Most people who Airbnb are putting up entire properties for guests to use as exclusive accommodations. Instead of a short-term alternative to a roommate, the market became a short-term, higher-yielding alternative to conventional long-term tenants in an investment property. Property owners could make as much as double the rent from short-term stays after paying Airbnb fees than they could from long-term rentals, even if their property was only rented out for half the year. The downside was that short-term rentals required more effort because the property needed constant cleaning between stays and there was less guarantee of consistent income. But financial benefits were still clearly in favor of short-term rentals for properties close to cities and tourist hotspots.
He's, by the way, already mentioning the cleaning part. Again, I'm not American, but even I know the downfall of Airbnb, yet I have never been in one. It's the fact that you need to clean and do stuff like that. And, dude, I'm sorry, but if I'm going on a vacation, or I'm trying to relax, I don't wanna clean stuff, okay?
Large-scale Airbnb landlords, the Airbnb barons if you will, designed properties with the express intention of cutting down on the effort required from them. They fitted doors with keypad locks that could be changed remotely between guests, easily cleanable surfaces, inexpensive but fashionable fittings, and preferred properties with minimal landscaping. All of this cut down on the additional efforts hosts needed to put into managing a property. But like all good things, it didn't last forever. Airbnb advertised its platform just as hard to new hosts as it did to guests, and investors started buying multiple homes to turn them into Airbnbs. Some hosts turned managing their Airbnb properties into a full-time job, effectively purchasing a job as a hotel general manager. Other hosts took an easier approach. Realtors in high tourist areas started offering short-term property management services where, just like they would manage traditional long-term tenants, the realtors would instead manage the short-term rentals with some services even handling the listing on Airbnb. Their fee was higher, but the higher short-term rental price meant owners still came out ahead. The additional cash flows from higher-yielding short-term rentals also made it easier to qualify for more home loans because the additional income could be used to pay for the loan on the next property and the next property. The inevitable result was clear. For little additional effort, hosts could make more money from their properties, so the market became oversaturated and hosts started to struggle to rent out their properties enough to make it worthwhile.
Now, admittedly, I haven't checked it, but I have a feeling this is a little bit overblown out of proportion, that this is not so bad. As much as I understand, most people just have something that they rent out, and not a lot of people try to make a business out of Airbnb. It's just the fact that there's a lot of people who try to make a business out of it. In my personal situation, in my country, where, well, people don't use Airbnb, well, some also use it, but, you know, essentially similar situations is, most people just have one place that they are renting out, and they're not even thinking about actually making a second. Because you need to understand the logistics here, right? You have one place that you potentially need to clean, that you need to do this and that and this and that, and then you need to get another place. Well, guess what? That's double the cleaning and double the this and that. People are gonna be very, very against the idea of putting themselves in a position of more work, even if it means more money in a lot of situations, especially something as random as this. Because you need to understand, the Airbnbs are still rented by people who want to party. They don't care, okay? They do not care that you can't throw parties there. They do not care that you need to be silent after 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. or whatever, you know? They're gonna do it anyway. And then you need to deal with that garbage? No, people are gonna be against that. If someone has gotten rich from Airbnb, it's just one property that they can rent out for an expensive amount of cash. If there's someone who actually, and the amount of people who just, you know, actually try to do it as a big business is very slim. Okay, let's be real. It's probably the same percent that, you know, the actual people in real life who try to make an actual business and start one. Very, very, very slim.
Worthwhile. Short-term rentals also made long-term rentals more expensive, so the gap between what someone can make from a short-term rental versus what they can make from a long-term rental is narrowing. For many hosts, it's no longer worth the additional risk and effort to rent out property short-term, and for the others that could only afford their loans because of the higher rent they got from the short-term rental yields, they might be forced to sell. That's just the first group in the collapsing market for short-term rentals, and they were one of only two that were in any way responsible for the shitstorm to begin with. So it's time to learn how money works to find out why short-term rentals got so big and failed so quickly. This week's lesson was sponsored by Manscaped, the global men's lifestyle brand disrupting the beard.
Hey, if you need something with a flashlight so you can trim your behind, hey, Manscaped's pretty good. You know, click on my description, get to this video, and then use code How Money Works, I'm assuming?
And worldwide who trust Manscaped today. Promo code HMW20 at checkout.
Yeah. Promo code How Money Works 20. Okay, that's a good code. Writing the full code. Yeah, no, thank you. I'd rather not.
Short-term rentals were a good solution to a real problem. Traditional hotels had become overpriced and didn't cater to what a lot of people really wanted when they went away on vacation.
True, because they had a lot of business.
Hotels provide a lot of amenities like housekeeping, room service, restaurants, concierge desks, meeting rooms, gyms, spas, pools, valet parking, and 24-hour security.
True.
These services are nice, but they come...
By the way, most women I know still choose hotels for their 1 to 2 day getaways, you know? Because Well, bro, you can get your Airbnb house in, I don't know, some place that looks fancy, but it doesn't have all the amenities. That's like a big thing. It doesn't have a gym, it doesn't have a restaurant, it doesn't have a movie theater inbuilt, it doesn't have any of that. It just has a TV and, you know, buy a bottle of champagne. That's it. Hotels are still superior in a lot. Well, they have always been superior in a lot of ways for people who just want to, you know, not care for a couple of days.
At a price which is either directly baked into the price of a room or charged separately at a significant markup. These services also don't always align with what the vacation goers really want when traveling, which is a place that just feels like home in a different city. Airbnb cut out a lot of amenities that catered more towards business travelers and offered vacationers their own kitchen, multiple bedrooms for their children, and an element of privacy that couldn't be purchased at any hotel chain. It felt—
Do they actually want their own kitchen? I don't know, but I'm gonna kind of press X to doubt on that one.
Like a home away from home, because in many cases, it was just someone's home. Airbnbs were also much cheaper, especially when sharing a larger home between multiple friends or family members who would all need to book their own separate rooms if they were staying at a hotel. A study conducted by the University of Waterloo and Daniel Gutentag Hospitality Research surveyed customers booking Airbnbs in traditional hotels. The study found that 61% of all correspondents said that they chose the Airbnb as a budget-friendly alternative to even budget hotel chains, despite the company's marketing as a way to share the vacation.
Well, to be fair, there's no point in staying in a budget hotel chain for a leisurely get a one or 2 days getaway from your life type of situation.
Experience with a local host that can show you around a city. Most respondents said that they did not care about this aspect of the service, and 70% stayed in a home that they had all to themselves, so they didn't have to share space with a random stranger. Despite people actually preferring not to share their short-term rental with a host, Airbnb still spends billions every year promoting this aspect of their service for a really important reason that will come up later.
Get an Airbnb and get a place to yourself.
Anyway, the things that made Airbnb are now either being lost or offered by competitors in 3 areas. The first is price. Airbnb is no longer an affordable alternative to budget hotels. It is now a premium option competing with premium 5-star chains.
Without all the premium things that you get from this. Because this is true, you know? When Airbnb became popular, the prices went up. Because, well, if your booking is full to the brim, even if you're an idiot who doesn't understand anything about finance or money, you probably are still going to get the genius idea of, how about I just charge $10 more and see how that works out? And guess what? Turns out great. You make more money. You need to worry less because less people are staying. Wow. What a win. Then guess what? How about I charge even more money? Well, guess what you do? You charge even more money. And guess what? Less people, less work for you, less worries for you, and you get more money. Ain't that great? And guess what? Guess what? You can charge even more now, and now you're pretty much only booked for the, you know, holiday seasons and, you know, specific holidays of a certain country, and guess what? You're still making more money, less fuss, less problems. Ain't that great? Yeah, obviously the prices went up. Drastically, in fact.
According to the company's own data, even though the number of bookings has only increased 17% since 2019, the gross value
statistic is trash.
Of all bookings worldwide has increased by 67%. Airbnb is just not cheap anymore. The second area where the platform is losing out is its monopoly on homes away from home. Hotel chains have significantly increased their offerings of apartment-style accommodations that do away with typical hotel services in exchange for larger rooms with multiple sleeping areas and kitchens.
Wow.
To many customers, these semi-serviced apartments offer a better value because they combine the known consistency of a hotel chain with the space and price of an Airbnb. The third area that turned customers against Airbnb was service. Hosts wanted to cut down on the work they needed to put into managing their properties, so they started putting more unrealistic expectations on guests about cleaning up before they leave.
Exorbitant cleaning.
Dude, this is the big one. And the best part is, you probably have heard about these stories, right? You know, someone leaves and they still get charged for some kind of service fee, even though they technically did everything. It's like, what? And what are you gonna do? Not pay it? Well, that's not exactly an option.
Fee that will irk people, especially if you, the person staying there, has to pretty much clean the house themselves.
Overall, this is just a few bad hosts, but it has given the platform a bad reputation amongst—
I think I remember people, there being talks about how bad Airbnb is also even on Joe Rogan. Maybe I'm wrong, but I remember some kind of podcast that I watched, one of the big ones, and it was just people talking about how bad Airbnb is with all the rules also. Crazy.
Customers who expect to be charged cleaning fees on top of already high rates. Compared to a hotel, where as long as there is not permanent damage, housekeeping will handle everything free of charge. If Airbnb's business was being a middleman platform between hosts and guests, then both of these groups having a bad experience is not a good direction for the company. But there is another group that has had it worst, and who are involved in the app whether they like it or not. And that's a third reason for the Airbnb bust. The public is sick of it. Customers can choose to stay wherever they want, and the threat posed by Airbnb and other short-term rental options has forced existing hotels to improve their offerings. Hosts were investors who need to accept that all investing carries risk. Most of them still own a home or multiple homes that they can now lease out in an overpriced rental market or sell likely for a profit. Neither of these groups have lost, unless they were really stupid. The people who did lose, though, were priced out of their homes because it became more profitable to rent to vacationers than long-term residents who needed a place to live. Poor renters don't have any power over the platform itself. But the problem of unaffordable homes in certain cities is becoming so bad that politicians are introducing new policies that will limit how many short-term rentals are allowed to exist and charging hosts additional taxes for running unregistered hotels.
If hosts are not playing by the rules, this legislation will require platforms to take down those listings.
Other cities have just made short-term rentals illegal without the same licensing as a normal hotel, making it so expensive that it's not worth it for the hosts to bother. The other group cracking down on short-term rentals are the people who you would least expect to be the heroes in a story about housing: homeowners associations. Owners associations in apartments and suburbs that have them are blocking owners from renting out their homes to short-term stays because residents who live in their homes don't like loud parties and additional security risks that come with the short-term guests.
Obviously,
some hosts are simply ignoring these laws and taking the fines into account as a cost of doing business. A report from McGill University's urban planning professor David Walksmith found that 45% of all short-term rental listings in Los Angeles are illegal in one way or another, and that the city could have levied between $56.8 million and $302.2 million in fines in 2022 alone. The semi-legal approach to rentals is still working for some hosts, but it's creating problems for the platform. Airbnb is spending hundreds of millions of dollars across the world fighting legal battles for the right to operate, and that's why they still spend so much on advertising their service as a way to see a new city with a local host. Even though most of their properties are rented out as whole new homes where a guest will never even see the person that owns their home, it's much harder to regulate shared short-term stays because it's harder to distinguish them from someone just staying with their friend. The folksy image of someone sharing their bedroom with curious travelers who want to see a new city with a local is much better PR than a multi-millionaire or—
Nah, that sounds absolutely horrible, though. I would never want to see that, though. Oh, no, thank you.
Institutional property investor who has just listed their 10th home with a tech company worth $80 billion. And that's the fourth cause of the Airbnb bust. The platform is losing its control on guests, hosts, and the general public. Airbnb has always had competitors like VRBO, but now incumbent traveler sites like TripAdvisor, Booking.com, and Expedia are launching their own short-term rental platforms like Turnkey.
By the way, Booking.com, just go to Booking.com, find a place that you want, then find the actual, website of the place that you want and book it there because it's gonna be cheaper because it's just a shitty middleman.
Or incorporating them into existing sites that already aggregate listings from multiple hotel advisors. Airbnb charges a host fee of 3% to the people listing their properties and a service fee of 14% to guests. Some hosts have found it cheaper to advertise their properties through local agencies and split these savings with guests. Airbnb has about the same amount of technical overhead for a vacation stay as Uber has for food delivery or rideshare, but Uber can only make a few dollars off a small charge, where Airbnb can make hundreds of dollars from their 17% cut of every transaction. This has made the platform profitable where other peer-to-peer platforms have struggled to turn a profit, which is a great advantage in today's high interest rate environment, but it is also painted a target—
Is the collapse of Uber, by the way, already starting? I'm wondering. I'm not sure. I haven't paid attention, but The collapse of Uber and Uber Eats and all of this garbage should be happening at some point. Because, well, these people have absolutely no protections, you know? If something happens to them, hey, tough luck, but Uber's not paying anything for your medical bills, or you're not getting any money. If you can't go to work, congratulations, you're just not getting paid that day. It is what it be. You know, I kind of heard that they're trying to get things like that a reality in Uber and other places like that. But did it work? I'm gonna kind of doubt that it did. But yeah, the collapse of Uber also should probably be happening at some point, huh?
On the back of the company that has no competitive moat around their business model. Apart from their brand name and recognition, there is nothing to stop these new entrants entering the marketplace from taking market share away from Airbnb by offering a better service or charging lower fees.
Yep.
The bonus fifth reason behind the Airbnb bust was that the platform was never set up with longevity in mind. It has made billions in just a few years, and for its founders and early investors, everything else is just a bonus. That's not a bad thing, but if you're interested in businesses that have...
But admittedly, it was started by two dudes, so, you know, they may be millionaires, but if their prized possession, that little sweet baby child, Airbnb goes under, you can bet that they're not going to be happy about those millions. Hey, it is what it is.
A bit more staying power, go and watch my video over on how history works to find out...
Bam. I guess that's the end. Sign up for... oh, this is their thing. Okay. Anyway, that's how money works, you know. It's recently getting really good, not gonna lie. Anyway, modern MBA, fried chicken was the course of Popeyes. Yeah, that sounds stupid. Anyway, this was Quizzer Said, and thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.